everybody. We have a special guest on the podcast today. Her name is Kat Golden. She is the owner at Nurses Inspire Nurses. She's the founder at Leap and Live. On Instagram, she has 26.8K followers, you guys. And she is a former nurse who took her rock bottom and her burnout and turned it into a business of helping other nurses avoid the burnout, take care of themselves, and develop themselves in their professional space. I cannot wait for you guys to hear this episode. She's so fun. She has amazing energy and an awesome story. You're going to get some amazing nuggets from her when it comes to your business and taking risks and just following your intuition. So get your pen and paper ready. Give her a warm welcome and enjoy the show. Oh my gosh. Welcome, Kat, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
It's like we're friends already.
I know.
I love
and we're kind of matching.
I know. Side-eye. It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Okay, so tell us about you. Who is Kat, and how did you become a nurse in the first place?
Yeah, so nursing is actually my second degree, and I have a business degree first, so I've always been a little hustler at heart. Like, I'm just a businesswoman at heart. But I've also always loved helping people. So I think who Kat is, she's deeply caring. I think I have always had a sense of like what people need and meeting their needs, whether that just be outside of just, I think all different things. Like I love giving gifts. I'm a really good gift giver. I love connecting with people. And so even with my business degree, I always wanted to help people. And I moved to Colorado. I'm from the Detroit metro area originally. And I got my first big girl job in Colorado. And then when I was working, I met my best friend who had a daughter that was born with spina bifida. And so we both decided to go back to nursing school to take care of her. So I just fell into nursing because I wanted to help my friend. And I was interested in it just for the different schedule. And I loved helping people, but I never loved science. And I would always even say that, like, I'm here to help people. I'm not here for the medicine.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you became a nurse just because of your friend.
My younger brother had become a nurse first, and I had like thought about it, but I was just like, I hate science and like, I don't know if I'll be good at it. And so I just didn't. And then once I saw him become a nurse, I was just like, okay, if he can, I can.
That's amazing. And it definitely shows what a giving heart you have.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
so
true, I guess.
Nurse, and then one thing led to another. No.
Yeah. I think that we think our life is going to go a certain way and mine really didn't. And I think it can be a blessing and a curse, like in the time it's so painful, but it's looking back, I'm like, oh, it was such a great gift. I still have a choice.
So you got into it. You're like, I want to help people, but I don't exactly love this.
Yeah, I never did. Like, I never really fit in as a nurse. And even like when I started my business, I knew probably my coworkers would be like, oh my God, Kat is like I never joined committees. I was never charge nurse. I was never like tried to get any additional certifications or anything, which is really, really common in the nursing world. Like, I just really liked helping people feel better, basically like everything I'm doing now. And I would even do that for my patients. Like, I would be like doing their laundry and like bringing them in movies to watch and like sneaking them food. Like, I got in trouble at my hospital in Colorado a lot because like, you can't do that. I'm like, do you want to be in the hospital for 6 months? Like, I'm sorry, he wants Burger King. Like, I don't even eat Burger King, but like, if he wants Burger King, I'm going to bring him Burger King. Like, it was just like, I cared about my patients so deeply as humans, which is what I help nurses do now, is care for themselves as humans first and nurses second. So I've been doing that for a long time, just kind of in a different way.
Okay. I had no idea that you worked out here in Colorado. That's where I work right now.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of moving. What hospital were you at?
At Children's Hospital, Colorado.
Oh, yeah. I know that hospital for sure. Amazing.
Yeah. My first job was at Denver Rescue Mission.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I did all the stats. I worked for there's 3 vice presidents. I worked for one doing all the stats and like reporting to the city and state.
Amazing. Did you like living out here?
I loved it. I lived there for 9 years.
Aw, nice.
Yeah. I have the mountains tattooed on me. I have a D, like my Denver to Detroit. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So clearly that led into you realizing like nurses needed help.
Yeah. I think first I had to go through my own mindset journey. So when I was working, I got a job as a CNA just to even see if I could handle it. And then that's when I went to nursing school. And through that time, like right when I graduated nursing school, I ended up getting divorced, which like it's like where you think your life is going down one path and everything is great. Like I was checking all the boxes, everything was right. And then it just wasn't. And as soon as I got married, things went downhill very quickly. My ex-husband just got super depressed, like fell off the face of the earth. Like it was really, really bad. And so, and just didn't want to get help. And I thought I would stick it out. I was like, oh, it's all going to be fine. And it just never got fine. And so once I finally decided, like, I can't do this anymore, well, I actually wanted him to get help. And he was like, oh no, like, I'm never going to be this person. I was just like, okay, so here we are.
Did you believe him when he said that, or did you secretly have hope of like, oh, come on, you're just saying that because that's where you're at right
No, like he really didn't do anything. Like when I say like he didn't write me a note, he didn't apologize. Like I'm talking like we wrote our own vows, like I hung them up on the wall. Like this is what you promised me. Like we've been together for 4 years before we got married. Like it wasn't like we went to marriage counseling, we had lived together. I mean, we did all the things like quote
now?
right.
Yeah.
And it just didn't go that way.
So how
And
long or at what point did you know like I have to make this decision?
so I had actually went to yoga one day. So I basically my ex-husband like was really obsessed with money. It was I think the only thing looking back I can see it was like the only thing he could control. And so I was babysitting on the side even though I was working as a nurse because he would only give me $100 a week to spend on everything. Like what are you going to buy for $100? So even if I wanted to like go home and visit my family, I would have to pay for it. I'm talking like crazy shit.
Did he pay all
So
the bills and everything too?
no, those came out of our joint account where all of our money went.
Okay.
Which like the person I'm now would never even stand for this, but like it happened so gradually and over time that I think I was just very numb to it and it got crazy. So I was babysitting for a couple awesome ladies who I just like absolutely love. One of them was an instructor at Core Power and she gave me an unlimited membership, which basically like saved my life. I had never been into yoga or anything and I like didn't even want to go. And she was like, come to Yoga Sculpt. We play Usher and use weights. And I was like, okay, if you play Usher, I didn't even know this like existed. She's
Yeah.
like, that's what she told me. I was like, I'll be there. So then I became obsessed with it. Well, it ended up becoming my saving grace, like through this whole experience. And what happened was I went to yoga. I will never forget. And I was on my mat and they would always say, like different things. And at the end, she's like, okay, relax your face. And she said, smile. And I went to go smile and I couldn't smile. I was like my face was frozen. And it was just I don't know why in that moment it hit me, but I was literally like, this is not who I am. I mean, you only have to know me for 5 minutes to know I'm like the happiest, most optimistic. Like I'm optimistic to a fault. It sometimes even annoys myself. And I was just like, I can't smile. And so I came home and I had told him that. I said, I went to yoga today and I couldn't smile. Also, he had left me at the airport. This was like a little bit of the backstory. He left me at the airport because he had sold my car. That was paid off.
Oh.
And so we only had one car because we lived downtown. He said it would be fine. It was not fine. Sometimes I would even take the bus to work. It was bad. And I said, I couldn't smile today. Like, I can't do that. Like, we've got to make a change. Like, this is like not good. And he was just like, no, I'm never going to be the guy to come pick you up from the airport in the middle of the night. Like I'd flown home actually to talk to my family about what was going on because they didn't know. And I couldn't tell them. And my flight got delayed and he was supposed to come pick me up and he didn't. And so he wanted me to use my $100 a week to take a $90 cab ride. The airport's way out in BFE out there. And then I went to yoga and it was like the final straw. I was just like, this isn't who I am. And he was just like, very like, okay, just get divorced. I was like, okay. So yeah, it was like really traumatic. I was like, oh my God.
I love the fact that you didn't feel the need to rescue him because I feel like a lot of nurses come from
Yes.
wanting to save people, right? And women in general, I think, really want to save people. And we have this belief of like, no, I can love them to wholeness. Like if I just stick this out, like I can help them get better.
Yeah.
You didn't put yourself in that position.
Well, this is what I'll say. At first, I think I did, but I'm so thankful that I got help because so at our work at Children's, they offered a lot of hospitals will do this, offer so many therapy visits for the nurses. Like you can go to therapy for so many sessions. So I knew about this and I was like, oh, perfect. I'm going to go to therapy and figure out how to help him. Exactly what you're saying. So I went to therapy and we get these 6 sessions. And so I tell the therapist what's going on. This lady, like I still love her to this day. She's like, well, where's he at? She's looking at me like, I mean, now I can see so obviously, but I mean, then clearly I didn't. She's like, well, where's he at? And I was like, oh, he won't come. Like he doesn't think he needs help. He doesn't want to get help. She's like, oh God, you know? So through that, I'm so glad that I did seek outside help though, because it totally shifted my perspective. And I honestly don't know without her help. She never told me to get divorced. She just helped me see what was actually happening. And I will never forget, she told me this analogy. I just remember it so vividly. She's like, imagine that you have a broken leg and you are like laid up, like you can't move. You're like on the couch. And she's like, you have a broken leg, like you're trying to use crutches, but you are still trying to like take care of everybody else and like carry food for other people. You can't even hold your crutches. Like you can't even walk and you are hurting yourself. Like imagine if it was a physical hurt. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm doing.
So that's what gave you the clarity.
Yeah, I think just having the outside perspective, it was like I just could actually see. I was so deep in, and it had happened over like a couple years, so it just had so much time had gone on that I couldn't see until really I started talking to that therapist.
And a good coach and a good therapist won't ever tell you what to do, but
100%.
They are that outside perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs, because when you're in it, all right? Like you can't see the forest for the trees.
Totally.
So you end up getting divorced.
Yep.
You had to like file and everything.
Oh, that was the best part. He didn't want to get a lawyer because he was so obsessed with money. And so my dumbass, like, didn't even, I was so beat down, honestly. I was just like, whatever you said. So I had to Google how to divorce someone in Colorado. I had to like march up to the courthouse myself. Oh, I did it all myself.
Wow. And how old were you at the time?
I was 28.
Dang.
So once I finally told my family what was going on, because I told only my 2 best friends, that was it. And I was just so embarrassed. He didn't obviously want me to tell anybody. I was lying to all of our friends. It was just such a mess.
Wow.
So once I told my family what was going on, my brother who was also a nurse that I mentioned, was like, I'm going to come out there and live with you. We're going to get an apartment. So my brother moved from Chicago. He was working in downtown Chicago, and we got an apartment together and lived like some of the best 3 years of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so cool. What a good brother.
I know. We're like best friends. I mean, we do anything for each other, but yeah, we just lived in Baker, and we had like, he got the master, I got the parking spot. We had like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, like living our best life. He worked at University of Colorado. I worked at Children's. We like skied. He put Tinder on my phone. He's like, you're going to start going out. I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, yes, you are. Like, I didn't even know what Tinder was.
Yeah.
Like, this is like 7 years ago, right? So he's like, you're going to start going out. I was like, oh my God. And then I ended up meeting, it's like universe had a plan all along, but I ended up meeting this guy, Michael, who I'm still friends with to this day. We never dated, but he told me about Pearl Street Fitness in Denver. And I just like tried it out. I got really fit. It's when I started using Isogenics. I got like really healthy. And I went to mindset school through like Growth U. I call it mindset school, and it like really changed the whole course of my life.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know any part of this about your story.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you did Isogenics.
Yeah, I thought I would just be like I still use the products to this day. I did the business for a while and I thought that would be like my main thing.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Tinder,
Yeah.
what led to like your
Yes.
life change?
Yes.
That's awesome.
When I speak now, I always have like funny gifs and stuff about it because it's like really. The funny thing was, he had never even been to that gym, and I don't know why. He was like, "I just think you should go there," and I'm like, "What?" Like I was offended. I was like, "Are you trying to say I'm fat or something? Like I need to go to the gym?" He's like, "I don't know." He's like, "I just think you would like it."
Whoa, I think that was divine. Totally God. Like, here you
Oh,
go.
it totally was.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, before we continue forward, you touched briefly on being really embarrassed about your divorce. And I think we
Yeah.
can talk a little bit about that because there's so much shame and
Mm-hmm.
stigma around that. Can you talk about that or talk to that a little bit? I'm sure you do now with your story.
Oh, yeah. Like, well, I was also raised in a really conservative religious upbringing. So I had that on top of it. And I just think I felt like a failure. I think it's just hard when something doesn't work out. I knew one of the questions I'm so thankful I had asked my ex husband, I'll never forget. I said, I don't think I'm perfect. I said, but I am just curious, like your opinion. Do you think it's like 50-50? Do you think it's like 100% my fault? Like, what is your perspective of what's happening? Because if there was something that I could have changed, I really wanted to do that. And he said, oh no, I think it's 80% my fault, 20% your fault. He said, I still think you're the same person that I married. I just changed. And I was like, 20%. I can like live with that. Like, I'm not perfect. I knew that I tried, and I still know that to this day that I tried to do every single thing I knew to do to make it work. So I didn't have that feeling like, oh, I should have done more. But I still had the feeling that I failed because my marriage did fail. But I think that now I can disassociate my identity. Like I always say this, and I believe it wholeheartedly. Like my business could close tomorrow, but I still think I'm awesome. Like I don't base my worth on all of these outside factors or Instagram followers or my sales or like all of those things can be up and down, but I'm the constant. It's just taken me a long time to get there.
Totally. And what would you tell women that have such a hard time not being identified by their failures, right? How to
I,
get past that shame? Because, I mean, you said you only told a couple of your friends.
oh yeah, two
So,
people.
how did you get comfortable talking about it? How did you get comfortable telling it? Like, eventually you told everybody.
Oh yeah. I don't really know. I think it's why I'm so big on coaching and mentoring. I think other people really gave me hope in having mentors. And even the one lady that I babysat for, she had been married before. She was like, "Oh, girl, being divorced is the best." She's like, "You got a new lease on life." Like, she was really funny. She was trying to make me feel better, but she was really funny and she just didn't take herself too seriously. I still love her to this day. And she was a yoga instructor. She always wore like hot pink lipstick. I kid you not. She had a venti coffee. She's very not what you think about a traditional yogi, but also like very intuitive, very caring. She's amazing. And she was just kind of on her own path. And I saw people like that. And I was like, okay, she recovered. She went through something like I just saw that when you work on yourself, you really can change. And I think that was like the most empowering thing to realize. I did it first with my physical body before my mindset, but that I can change. And I don't think we know that. I actually just like wrote a post about that too. I'm like, we're allowed to change. Like it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, I think, a weird idea out there that once you pick something, you have to stick with it. In regards to
No,
everything, that even runs
totally.
rampant among women that have businesses that start
Yes.
with an MLM, and then they're like, "I don't think I actually want to do this anymore, but I'm not allowed." Like I told everybody this is my thing, and I'm like, "What? Who cares?" Like,
Yes. Like I'm like, do you have the same cell phone you had 2 years ago? Like, no, same clothes, nothing. It's fine. Like some things change and some don't. And I think
yeah. All right, so tell me your Tinder stuff led to your complete change. What is mindset school? What mindset school did you go to?
I don't know. I just called it Mindset School. So it was through this company called Growth U that partnered with Isogenics. So the gym owner's wife asked me to like, she's like, do you want to do this mindset program? I didn't never even done a mindset program. I didn't even know there was such a thing. But I exactly like my brother putting Tinder on my phone, even how I moved to Colorado, the one thing, and it's pretty much the main thing that I teach now, is about taking action and moving forward. This is something I've always done. And I think I've done a lot of thinking and reflecting on it. And I think it's because growing up, one of the greatest gifts my parents gave me was that they always had us try things. We never had to love it. We never had to stick with it, but we had to try and just keep moving forward. And so I've always kind of, I think, subconsciously had that mentality. And so even like my brother putting Tinder on my phone, I was just like, sure, whatever, I'll try it. Like, why not? Because I'm not so attached to like, oh my God, I have to like find a new husband tomorrow. I was just like, okay, whatever. Even going to the gym, I was just like, okay, cool. It's a free week, whatever. I'll just try it. And so the gym owner's wife, who I like really loved, she was one of my first mentors. She was like, just try this. And I didn't even know. I was like, cool, sounds great. So I just tried it. And it was just all this, it was mindset work basically. And so in that, they had a part where you have to ask someone that you're close to about your life in an area that you can change and improve. And I'd never done that. And so I asked my best friend who I'm really close with, like, hey, I'm doing this, mindset school, blah, blah, blah. I need this feedback. She's like, let me email you. I'm like, oh my God, you have to email me? Like, I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh no, it's really bad. And what she told me basically was another kind of turning point in my life. But she basically said, you live every day like an emergency. And she said, when you were married, it was an emergency. But she said, you can't do that anymore. Like, you're going to get a flat tire. You're going to have to pay bills. Your dog's going to get sick. Like, shit's going to go wrong. But you can't fly off the handle and you can't freak out and you can't just she's like, it's just not good for your health. Like, you're so stressed out all the time. And I didn't even realize it because I had been in survival mode for so long that in the past, every day really was an emergency, but I had never transitioned out of that. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And so that was kind of like the next step where I was like, okay, if every day is not an emergency, then what can I do to change that?
What a powerful question.
Mm-hmm.
And what a good friend.
I know. Like, I always joke with my mentees because I always tell this story, but I don't have them do that. I'm like, I'm going to add that to my program.
You should, because that's a super powerful question, because most people are living from survival. We already know that.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know it, but they are.
Yeah.
That's just our primitive brain taking over,
mm-hmm.
right? So what a good friend. She had such good intuition.
Oh, yeah. She works for me now.
That's awesome. So most people hear mindset, they're like, what do you mean mindset? Why do I need mindset work? I'm surprised you weren't like, mindset work? Like, why do I even need it? What do you tell people now? Just like why they need mindset work?
I don't tell them why they need it. I just think if they do, they know. Like, you don't even have to know why. I don't even tell them why. Like, if you have to ask why, then it's not your time.
Boom.
I do things very differently.
I love that though. I love
that.
Okay. So at what point did you start your new business? Let's start going down that.
Yes. So after I turned 30, I don't know, again, like I said, my life is kind of different. And I just think that I act out of these like ideas or my intuition, and just something happened after I turned 30 and I was like, it's time for me to move back to Michigan. I literally still this day don't even know what happened. I was just like, it's time. So I took a travel nursing assignment. My brother had always wanted to do travel nursing. And he is like a little bit needs a kick in the ass. Like, I'm very go-getter. He is a little bit not so much. And so I felt like he would just stay in Colorado. And I was like, no, you've always wanted to do this. Like, you have to do it. I was like, I'm moving back home and you're going to take a travel nursing assignment. So he got an assignment. He was going to move to Seattle. He's like, you should take a travel nursing assignment. I'm like, no, I'm moving to Detroit. I don't want to travel. He's like, well, you haven't lived there in 10 years. Like, you don't know where you want to work. I'm like, yeah, true. So really, I'm like, he just wanted a referral bonus, but he got his referral bonus. I took a travel assignment and ended up at Children's Hospital of Michigan, downtown. And so Children's Hospital of Colorado is like the Ritz. There's like Ryan Seacrest studio, an Xbox in every room, like bingo on the TVs, private rooms, private bathrooms. Like, I mean, Ed Sheeran concert. I mean, that place is the Ritz. Cafeteria is open 24/7. I mean, it's just nice. Children's Hospital of Michigan is like a little bit of a culture shock. Let's just say that. So I'll just leave it there. Long story short, because I had been on my own mindset journey for these years and like really, really knew who I was, when I went there, I ended up meeting, like, still to this day, I love them so much and I still talk to them. My old coworkers, like the nicest, most amazing humans I've truly ever met. They were so beat down and like tired in their eyes. And I was just like, oh my God. Like by this point, I'm like 31 or 32. I'm like, I got a lot of time left. Like, I'm not trying to look like the world is ending and my life is over. Like, it was so sad to me. So I was like, I got to go. I was like, I'm getting out. Like, I'm like quitting nursing. Like, I was like, I can't do this. It was so depressed. It was so lowering my vibe. I was like, this is terrible. So I'd actually hired a mentor to help me blow up my Isogenics business. But the truth was that I was never fully aligned with it. And I knew that, but I was like doing it from a place of like trying to escape.
Yes.
Instead of like being high vibe. I am like not passionate about health coaching, although I thought I was. I'm passionate about my own health and wellness. I don't really care what anyone else does. Like, I don't find that stuff interesting. Like, I don't like it. She was basically called me out on my BS. She's like, you're not aligned. And she's like, just letting me sit with it. And I would like really realize that I wasn't. And so I just took a huge pause. Like she was like, you have to just take a pause and get clear on what's in your heart. And she's like, you got to stop chasing all these other things. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. That's what I'm doing. And so when I finally got quiet, like the first time in my life ever that I didn't have all these other things I was chasing, I was just like, my only goal was like, how can I be happy today? I like went to yoga. I took a nap. I mean, it still worked, but like, I was like, oh, this is what people do. They're just let themselves be happy. Then the second I did that, I got like every idea for everything I'm doing now.
Oh my gosh. I think what you're touching on is so important because there's so many people that get into network marketing because they should. I feel like it's presented as such an easy opportunity that there's almost this sense of obligation. Like, well, I should, even if it's not what I know deep down I want to do forever. How could I pass this up? Like, I should do this. And I know network marketing is really set up to drive people who want to achieve. They really know how to like get people that want to achieve and keep them distracted with shiny object syndrome, right? To the point where you are burning out, you are running yourself ragged to try to get some achievements from a company, right? Like, and it works. But I love that you took a minute to actually get honest and to get quiet and to let go. I know for me too, it was like, I got to this point where I got the achievement and I was like, that's it.
Yeah, because you're still the same person.
I know. I was like, I'm freaking tired. Like, I'm burnt out. I'm exhausted. I'm not happy. Like, I don't like this. And that's when my coach gave me permission to consider other things. And up till that point, I had always been telling myself, no, you have to get to a certain level before you're allowed to pivot. So can you talk, like, was that a struggle for you at all in giving yourself permission to let go of what you should?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was in like big turmoil. I was in a relationship at the time. You can just ask him. He was like, this shit is, you got to go. I mean, it was hard. We didn't break up over that, but he actually was like really supportive and stuck by me, but it was hard. I was like a wreck because I was so attached to it. I was so attached to it. And I'm so out there. I mean, you know, everyone knows what you're doing and you just feel like it's the same thing we were talking about earlier. Like, I was like, oh shit, like I am allowed to change. I didn't feel that I was.
Correct. Did that change relationships within the company too?
Oh yeah, of course. Cause I mean, you're so connected with these people and then you're like, actually, like, I'm just not going to be on that call. Like, I'm not doing it. I think the one thing I'll say is that has helped me is that I am very in tune with myself and what Kat wants. And so I know when things are just like not lining up. And I didn't really need a reason. And I think a lot of times we try to rationalize things or we need a reason. But if you can just give yourself permission to trust your knowing and to not have a reason, like you just don't have to have a reason.
Can you talk more about that? Because women, and it's something
Oh,
that's
it's
really
terrible.
driven me crazy lately, is how much they have to explain everything. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you explain why you want something, or why you don't want something, or why you did this or didn't do that.
Nope.
Why do we feel this need to constantly explain ourselves as
It's
women?
just our brain. Our brain, I think, is just chatter. It's just trying to make sense of it. It's your brain's job to keep you safe. And so you have to think like a lot of us don't experience physical harm anymore. Like we're not worried about where we're going to get our next meal. We all probably have cell phones, our bills are paid, as much as we have money concerns, like we're truly not worried about where our next meal is going to come from or that we're going to have a roof over our head. Maybe some people are, but most probably aren't. So we're afraid now of physical harm. What will people think of me? What will, so your brain just has all this chatter to try to keep you safe from emotional harm. It's why people fear public speaking more than like death. I mean, there's studies that say that people fear public speaking. Why? What's going to happen to you? Nothing. It's just emotional harm. So your brain just makes up stories and feels like it has to explain itself because you're worried about emotional harm. Like maybe someone's going to say something bad about you, or what are they going to think, or who cares?
So how do we help women get past that point of needing to explain themselves constantly?
I think you have to get outside of yourself. I know that this sounds like a little bit crazy, but when we're so like caught up in the situation, we feel the need to rationalize and explain ourselves and all of that. But think about, like I always ask my mentees, like, what would you tell your best friend? You'd be like, no, nobody cares. Just do what you need to do, right? Like we always have the best advice for our friends. But when it's ourself, we don't, because we're just so caught up in our own BS. So I tell my mentees, like, go outside your house. If you have a house, look in your front window and picture yourself sitting there. Like, what would you say to that person? Like, you have to actually think it through. Like, if you're looking out your front window in it yourself, what are you telling that person?
Yeah.
Or like writing a letter to yourself.
Yeah.
You have to get outside of yourself, I think, is like one of the only ways to start doing it.
For sure. Okay, so you realized all these nurses needed help. You didn't want to end up with them. And when you got quiet, you got all of your ideas, which were?
So the funny thing was that I just naturally started doing all of this. I didn't ever intend that it would be a business. When I got quiet and actually like could see what was in my heart, I was like, oh my gosh, like these people need taken care of. Like they need someone to check on them. When I started this a couple years ago, nurses were not talking about self-care and everything, even online like they are now. And nobody was saying, I feel like shit. Like I was just like, I'm trying to get coffee in the afternoon. Like, I don't know, but when I work 12 hours, like I like to take 15 minutes and like feel the sun on my face and like go get coffee. Like, why is that not okay? Like, can we just say we're humans? We might want to get a frozen yogurt. We might want to get a coffee in the afternoon. Like, can I watch my patients? You watch yours. Like, people would like not be taking a lunch break. I'm like, I don't know what kind of shit you guys like. This is some craziness, but like, I'm taking a lunch break. I need to make a phone call. Like, you do you, I'll do me. Like, let's help each other. This is all okay. Like, it was just this crazy environment. I was like, I don't know what is happening here, but I'm not okay with it. But it was like the second I started asking those questions, it was literally like a floodgate opened. And because of my own mindset journey that I had been on, all of a sudden it was like therapy hour with Kat. Like these girls would be texting me like, are you working tonight? We gotta talk to you. Like they'd be like, I don't know, ask Kat, she's working tomorrow. Like it was like got to the point where I couldn't even hang my meds. Like I was like, guys, it would be like 1:58. I have a 2:00 med. I'm like, guys, I have to go hang my IVs. I will come back. Like it just got so crazy that I was like, man, like we got to start having more conversations. Like this is wild. And so I was like, well, let's have a coffee talk. My boyfriend at the time was a coffee roaster and he had his own 2 coffee shops. So I was like, we'll meet at the coffee shop. It'll be great. And so I just started doing this because I could see the need and I loved it. I was like, oh, because I kind of like always, I used to be a blogger. So I kind of always have this like influencer mentality. I was like, guys, I got us coffees. Like I got high brew. I would get like sponsors for our unit. They're like, this is the best. I'm like, why wouldn't we do that? Like, of course, like this is just fun. So one of my coworkers made a comment and she said, I wish Betty, that was our manager. She's like, I wish Betty would just hire you to take care of all of us. Like, that's what you really need to do. And I was just like, oh, that's my dream job. Huh? So I told my coach that. And she's like, well, why can't you do that? And I was like, oh, well, there's no job like that. And I was just like, it doesn't exist. She's like, well, why don't you make it exist? I kid you not.
That's right.
Yes, the sky, oh, it still gives me chills. We were on a Zoom. The sky opened, a light shone down. I am not kidding you. I still have a picture of it. Joy was crazy. I was like, ugh. I like took my phone, snapped a photo, and then it went away. I was like, okay, guess I'm doing that.
Good coaches always help you see, like, turn it into a job. That's what I always tell people. They're like, well, nobody's doing that. I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how amazing. So what did you do? Did you go pitch yourself to Betty?
No, I did actually. I was like, hey, I want to start doing stuff on our unit. She's like, great. Cause I mean, she doesn't have time to deal with this. She's like, cool, make our work environment better. And then like, just again, like my life's kind of weird, but I was helping my friend with a photo shoot because I was on this whole kick of like, whatever would make me feel good. So I was like helping her with her business because I was like, that'd make me feel good. And we were at this place and this lady was like, oh, I love nurses. You should have a party. Like you can have it here for free. I was like, I love parties. I'm going to have a nurse party. So I had my first nurse give back night. And then my coach told me to sell something. And I was like, I don't want to sell anything. It's just a party. It's only for nurses. Cause I was like kind of pissed. Like people come to the hospital and do stuff for the kids, which is so nice. Right. And that's so needed. And I'm all for that. But they would basically tell us to like go aside. They'd be like, no photos, stay away. I'm just like, ew, like I'm working on Christmas too. Like, okay, so there's a hot hockey player. Like, I can't have a photo. Like, I don't know. Like, just be like nice to us. You know what? It just pissed me off. I was like, I'm having party. Only nurses can come. It's going to be the best party you've ever been to. And so I put Nurse Inspired Nurses on a t-shirt, like on a complete whim. And then I got so many DMs. My DMs are like blowing up. Like, where can we get this? Like, I was like, oh, I didn't have a website or anything. I was like, I'll PayPal you. PayPal invoice. I was a hustler. I was like slinging teas. And then like nothing was taken. Like the website, Instagram, like literally there was nothing. I was like, holy shit, I'm like onto something.
At your party, how did it go? How many people came?
There was like 40 people that came. It was small. Everyone loved it though. Like the response just confirmed to me that this was needed. And like, so, I mean, I had no clue what I was doing, but it actually was like a really fun party. And I was just like, okay.
Did you sell?
Okay, so it sold all my t-shirts, like, and I just had like, I had like wine, snacks, I had like henna, like chair massages, like I just had, it was basically like the swag bags were epic. All the gyms, like they were worth like hundreds of dollars. Like the swag bags alone were just amazing. So it was really just like fun, but then everyone was like, oh shit, you're serious. I'm like, oh, I'm dead serious. I'm going to do something.
Oh my gosh. This is the best story ever because it just shows people that you can just try anything. I'm always like,
100%.
Just try. And like,
you never know.
What happens. And that's your feedback. Now you know how you can tweak it, change it, what you can do next time, but you're not going to know until you start trying.
100%.
So you did that. And then what?
So I thought I would start a subscription. So I had like a subscription that was like, you get something in the mail and it was like part mindset, but it was just like really crazy. Like it was so much time and it was like actually costing me money. I wasn't even making money. I was working at the hospital. I had never intended to be a mentor. And actually my coach told me like, I think you would be really good at it. I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And I do still, like my focus has always been the community. Like I want to support all nurses. I do love my mentorship program though, but I just realized they're kind of two different people. Like not everyone even needs mentorship. So I just was like, no, I don't want to be a mentor, blah, blah, blah. Then again, my life is like kind of weird. I met Rachel Bell in a bathroom at an event. I don't know if you know Rachel Bell, but
I love her.
Yeah. So I had been following her and I really liked her, but she had only worked with health coaches at the time. Now she works with everybody, like all online coaches. So I met her in a bathroom and I was like, hey, I think you, like, I love all your content. I think you're fantastic. She just like kind of looked at me. She's like, you look familiar. My old handle was 9 Lives Health. I'm like, yeah, 9 Lives Health. I'm like, I blow up your Instagram being like, when are you going to stop working with health coaches? She's like, I like you. And she's like, I like your style. I was like, yeah, because I lived in Colorado for 10 years. You're from Colorado. We have the same style. She's like, oh, she's like, I'll do something with you. I was like, I'm going to be following up on this. So I sent her a video DM and she was like, I'll do a call with you. And I spent an entire week's wage. I spent $1,500 for about what I was making at the time for a 1 hour phone call. I didn't even give a fuck. I don't know how to say that, but I was just like, take all my money. So yeah. And then she helped me see that on that call. I don't even remember what happened, but I was like, oh my gosh, like I am a mentor. Nurses do need this. I know I can give them. She's like, you clearly have had such a huge transformation. Could you give that to them? And I'm like, yeah. And then I started my mentorship program.
Okay. I love that you were like, oh, I'll just spend $1,500 for 1 hour. Can you tell people how you get to that point? Because I think people are always like, wait, what?
So this is the thing. I trust myself a lot, but I think I will say after reflecting on a lot of the things, I do just take action very quickly if I know. But I think because I lost everything, like when I got divorced, I had no money. I mean, I didn't even have a car. My friend had to go with me to buy my car. I didn't put $1 down. I literally had $200. Like it was so bad. So because I know what it's like to have nothing, my tolerance for risk is very high because that happened to me. So I'm like, I know I'll be okay.
That's right.
I think I didn't always used to be that way, but I have been always like very trusting of myself.
Yeah.
And so I make decisions. I just know. I actually just said no to an investment for myself because I'm doing something else. I needed to work on different things. I don't really second guess it. Like again, I kind of do things different, but I just feel like if you're supposed to do something, and that's when you're going to have a good result. Like if someone has to convince me that I'm supposed to do something, I'm not going to have a good result.
That's right. That is so right. Can you talk about how women start trusting themselves more? Because I know everybody has that intuition. And I've done a lot of work in the last year to start following my intuition. And I'm just like you, I act real fast.
Yeah.
Because I know it's already happening. And some people are like, wait, what? And I'm like, dude, I just do. Like, because I know. But how do you develop that trust with yourself? Because it's the lack of trust with themselves that keeps people from not following their intuition.
Yes. So what I think you have to do, kind of gives me chills. You have to find evidence in your life in the past of where it has been true. Once you find the evidence, if you can get in that feeling, to me, like we get so caught in our heads and not in the feeling. So you have to find evidence, I believe. Like I always find evidence, even still to this day. I take all the risks now. And even like I still will get chest pain or like my chest will start, I'll be like, whoo, that's feeling that one. And I just let myself feel it. But I literally tell myself, you know what, I don't think this is even ever going to happen, but even just to make my brain quiet, I'm like, Kat, you could go back to the hospital tomorrow.
That's right.
Like to me, I have no risk. Like I tell like my mentees that I'm like, 1, you're nurses, so you can go work anywhere. 2, you could go work at Target or Starbucks or something. I'm sorry, do what makes you happy. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm ordering all this holiday product and I'm like, ooh, like I feel, but I'm like, there's no risk for me because I know I'll be fine. So I just find evidence in my life, in the past, how I've always figured it out this far. So I find specific scenarios and I'm like, okay, what got me in that feeling that I was able to do that? Okay, how can I get in that feeling now?
Oh, I was just asking a client this today. When they tell me their fear or what they think is going to happen, I'm like, where in your past do you have evidence that the opposite is true?
Yes, exactly that.
Always.
Same thing.
We always have proof that the opposite is true if you actually look for it.
Yes.
The brain is so, tricky. It wants to tell us the opposite. It wants to tell us all these lies, right?
But yeah, it just wants to keep you safe. Exactly. That's why it's coming up. It just wants to keep you safe.
Exactly. And I love that you feel it and you're like, okay, just feel it. That's fine.
Yeah, because I think we can go too far to the other extreme to not acknowledge. Like we do. If people tell me that they're never afraid, I'm like, I'm sorry, are you inhuman? Like we all at times are gonna have I personally think we should, because that just means like we're doing something worth taking a risk over. Like I hope that I continue to, I'm not gonna stay there, but like I for sure have like, I'm like, oh, I pay 8 people now. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, that makes me a little, like, okay, so I'm human. Guess I'm still human. Cool. Just keep going.
if you're not ever feeling fear in what you're doing with your business, then you're not doing anything big.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So now you employ people,
Yeah.
like huge business for nurses. And I'm assuming you run it like most coaches, but one-on-one coaching or group coaching, or how do you run all?
Yeah, so our business the business has three pillars. So basically we have the community, the shop, and mentorship is all our three pillars. So our shop is very self-explanatory. We have all the Nurses Inspire Nurses merch, and that's basically the entryway usually into the community. Someone sees a shirt, they're like, I really resonate with that. I love this. We do like school fundraising projects and wholesale orders and individual orders and all the things. So we have our shop. The community is online. We used to do monthly events and meetups in person. We support nurses in hosting events in their community because the goal is never for me to be everywhere. We're like, no, we want you to be the inspiration in your own community. So we support them in that. And then we started Nurse Inspire Nurses Academy, which is basically just one-off classes with things they didn't teach you in nursing school, like emotional wellness, how to control your schedule, confidence, just kind of like nothing we do is medical or even medical related. I'm like medical Mondays, I call them. I'm like, we're not for you. And that's okay. So that's the community. And then mentorship is the other pillar. I don't actually do one-on-one coaching anymore. I just don't have the bandwidth for it. I'll do like one-on-one workshop style things,
Yeah.
but it's a group program, a 3-month group program that we run twice a year.
I love that. Amazing. How many nurses do you have working with you guys so far?
In mentorship right now, we have 35.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So, do you have a podcast?
No.
Why not?
I know. So the one thing I am really clear on that I think I've done really well is not try to do all the things at once. Like I'm very, very clear on, I think, who we are, what we're here to do. I'm crazy about my energy. And I think that other things had to get out first. And I just haven't felt that it was the time. Don't worry, I got all the notes in my phone, all the ideas, lots of voice recordings. When it's the right time, I'll know, but I just I don't do things like other people. I don't have funnels like other people. I follow like very different. I just feel like I'm kind of on my own path. So
I love that though. I love
yeah, believe me, I have to hold myself back.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I'm huge about my energy too. Like,
Yeah, you
really.
have to be, I feel.
So talk about that though, because I think so many people are like, energy. What do you mean? Like, energy to me is, I mean, I'm a stickler about going to bed. I'm a stickler about what I eat. I'm a stickler about my morning routine. Like, energy to me is everything. And so I will literally do whatever it takes to like protect that. And because I know what it feels like to feel good and to have that. And that's
Yes.
what I pay you for.
Yes. I couldn't say it any better. That's what I think. My mentees show up on a call because of my energy. They're paying me for a transformation, but it's also an energy exchange. And I'm not going to show up tired and exhausted and yawning and being like, oh, I should have done X, Y, and Z. Like I only do calls now on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's why this is a Tuesday. Like I have my schedule set like Thursday mornings. Every Thursday morning I take off because I'm in my program right now. I run it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Thursday mornings are blocked off. That's cat time. Like nothing is happening then. I've kind of been like that for a long time, I think, because once I started seeing the result, I was like, oh, you can never go back. I mean, I don't get it perfect all the time, but I'm crazy about it.
Talk to me about when you started seeing the result though. What changed?
Really, like years and years ago, even when I worked at the hospital, like when I started doing a morning routine and really paying attention to my energy, and I was actually just writing a post about this. I changed my job multiple times because, like in nursing, I feel they expect you to be inhuman. Like, I'm sorry, it's not natural to stay up all night. I totally get that we need people to stay up all night to like take care of people.
Yeah.
That didn't align with me. Some people, my brother's done it for like 6 years now or something. He loves it. Good for him. That is not good for me. I've been like really crazy about it for a while, but I feel that it's instant. If you're really paying attention, I think you can get like, I think in a week you can change your energy.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So if you were to leave women with a message, women that might be in their rock bottom, women that might be in their heart, right? And they're like, my gosh, what am I going to do? Or why should I stick this out? Or what hope is there for me? What would you tell them?
Oh man. I don't know. I think when you're in those times, like even when I was getting divorced, like when people would tell me like, oh, it's just for whatever bigger purpose or things are I'm just like, that's some bullshit. Like you're just pissed off. And it's so hard to hear those things. But I think the one thing, the message personally that I get over and over and over again that's given me so much peace is just be yourself. Like we are all on our own journey. And I think especially as women, it can be so easy to compare where you're at or even to compare within yourself. Like, why am I not farther ahead? Or like, I'm 35. Like I've never gotten remarried up until this point. I don't have kids. Like my business has been my like I birthed like this national movement instead of having a kid. I never thought that would happen. But I just feel like we all have to be ourselves. And when we can truly do that and like listen to what's in our heart, even if that is really painful, that's where true success comes from. Because at the end of the day, if you can put your head in your pillow at night in bed and can say, I've been true to myself, there's no greater gift than that.
And I think so many of us have a pattern that we're not even aware of where we haven't been true to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Have a way of encouraging women or something they could do that would help them to start becoming aware of where they're not being true to themselves.
I would just say when you know what you don't want, it tells you what you do. And I think we know what we don't want in areas like things that have not made us feel good and where we're not being true to ourselves. And so just know what that is. Like I have my mentees write it on one side of the paper, draw a line. What's the opposite of that? We know more than we think we do. You know when you're not being true to yourself because you know how you feel and you know what you don't want. Even if you can't verbalize yet what you do, what's the opposite of that? And start thinking about that and it will become clear.
Oh, that's golden. That's such a good exercise. Everybody go do that exercise right now.
Yeah.
List. Because that's where it starts happening. And then you can start asking yourself, where have I not been honoring this?
Mm-hmm.
Where have I not been showing up and honoring this and asking for what I want, asking for what I need? Because that's the pattern of not listening to yourself, not showing up for yourself.
Yeah. And sometimes I think we don't do that because we don't even know what we want. Like I didn't know that, but I could have told you every single thing I didn't want. And then we're not focused on like, that's actually really valuable information. Like I lived this, I will never be in the experience I was before because I know exactly what I don't want. I know exactly what to look for. Like I'm so crystal clear on that. So once you know that, it's actually super powerful. Like we take it for granted how powerful that is.
So when you don't know when you do know what you don't want.
Yep. We all know that. We all know things we don't want.
You do. Then how do you start taking steps forward to find what you do want?
You just ask a different question. That part you got to release control. Your brain's going to naturally find the answer. Like if you ask yourself, what do I want to eat for lunch? You'll figure it out. What should I do next? Like you just have to get to the different question. Like I think release some control on that. Once you start asking the different question, trust the answers will come.
Yes. And I think giving yourself the freedom to try things.
Totally. You have to.
We put so much pressure on trying things. We think we have to get it right the first time.
Nobody ever does that.
Never going to happen. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. I loved it.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
My Instagram is catgolden.inspires. And if you're a nurse or know a nurse, just send them to Nurses Inspired Nurses, everything. Website, Instagram, Facebook, all the things.
Yay. Okay, everybody, if you love this episode, don't forget to take a screenshot and tag Kat and I. Tell us what your big takeaway was. And I hope you guys have an awesome day.